Okay, so now I've got to do what my friend Keith would call damage control, because there's going to be some Jews out there who want to tar and feather me. What on earth am I doing? Essentially helping you salvage your faith in Yeshua. And look, I believe God does everything, right? If I was there at that moment, then I was a tool that he wanted me to use for his purposes. But look, I think it's a valid question that some of the Jews listening to this are going to have, because their approach, or the approach of some Jews, is there's no reason you should be talking about Jesus or Yeshua unless it's to convince people to deny him. And that's not what I feel called to do. That hasn't been the focus of my ministry, of what I've been doing for years. And look, I in a sense, I started out that way. My mentor was a counter missionary, and I was expected to follow in his footsteps. And I would have these conversations with people. And I felt like, first of all, I felt like this isn't intellectually honest, because I'm talking to someone who doesn't know what the response is, and I know what he should be saying, but he doesn't. That's first of all. But also, I felt like this is pointless. I learned so much more from interacting with people and trying to find common ground than I do from trying to win a debate. I find dialectic so much more productive than debate in that respect. Going back and forth, trying to find out what the truth is. So I want to bring this statement. I'm going to paraphrase it from Maimonides, Rambam. He makes this statement about Yeshua. He says that God used Yeshua to bring the knowledge to the world of the concept of Messiah. In other words, before Christianity existed, before whatever you call it, right? 2,000 years ago, you could travel to most parts of the world and they had no concept of a Messiah. And in other words, what Maimonides is saying is, look, we're Jews. We don't believe that he's fulfilled these messianic prophecies. And I would say, to be more specific, I don't believe these messianic prophecies have been fulfilled yet, because I'm still looking for a Messiah who will gather in the exiles, defeat the enemies of Israel, and bring peace to the world. And I'll say something Maimonides I don't think would have said, which is maybe that will be Yeshua. Maybe Yeshua will accomplish those things in the future. Right now, those things are not accomplished. We're living in a fallen world with suffering. But Maimonides' point is that, and it's kind of like what we talked about before with Pesher, there's no way something as momentous as a Jewish man who was crucified, who then has 1.5 billion followers or 2 billion followers, there's no way God allowed that to happen without it being part of God's plan. Amen. And Maimonides is trying to figure out, how is this part of God's plan? And he proposes this radical idea. And I think he could only propose it because he lived in a Muslim country. In a Christian country, he would have been murdered for saying this. But he said maybe it was that God used Yeshua to bring knowledge of the Messiah to the entire world, or to a large part of the world. And whether you agree with Maimonides or not, that's what happened. And I look at you, and yes, you come from a Jewish background on your mother's side, but as far as we know, most of your ancestors, certainly on your father's side, were idolaters who knew nothing about the God of Israel. And it was through Yeshua, this is a fact, it was through Yeshua that you came to know the God of Israel, that you know that there is a Torah, that you know that there is this thing called the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible. And yeah, Christians refer to it as the Old Testament, but at least they know it exists now. And they've come one step closer to being prepared for when the Messiah comes or comes back and unravels his plan for mankind. It won't be a complete surprise to everybody. People will at least say, okay, this was foretold. And this is an image we see in Isaiah. I send out my word upon the water, and it comes back to me having accomplished its mission. And maybe Yeshua was that word, or one of those words, that he was part of that divine plan. I know I'm going to get a lot of trouble for that, but I don't care. I've said this throughout my ministry. My purpose is to empower people with information so that people can work it out for themselves in fear and trembling, with prayer and study before the creator of the universe. And you've done that. You did it the way that God led you to do it, not the way that I've done it, because God hasn't led me to that at this point in my life. But you did it the way God led you to do it, and I respect that. I think, how do I put this? I think you're more part of God's plan with what you believe now than if you had walked away and said, okay, Jesus isn't real, the New Testament is a lie, and now there's no such thing as God. I'm an atheist, a secular human. Right. You have a faith, and your faith has led you to do wonderful things. I know you were doing work helping people in Fiji, and doing all kinds of what you call mission work, but trying to help people. And I think it's because of your faith that you did that. And so I think it makes you a better person. This isn't to say that everyone who has faith is a better person. Some people, there's this profound passage. Some people, it actually, it can turn them mean. I've seen this happen, that people get this religious spirit. And Keith found this wonderful passage, which I'd read many times in Chronicles and never thought about. It talks about how they were keeping the Torah and walking straight in the ways of Yehovah, but they weren't doing it with a lev shalem, with a complete heart. And look, that happens, but you're doing, I think, if you don't mind me saying, I think you're living according to the best you can, the word of God with a complete heart. And I think it's a wonderful thing that you have this faith. I don't think that's something that I need to destroy. That's not what I'm called to do.
No, and you've been a blessing. You've built it up. What to your followers that we mentioned who aren't Christian? One of the things though that you have done is you've introduced a lot of people to not the Greek Jesus so much as the Hebrew Yeshua, who loved Tanakh, who loved Torah, who obviously loved the Jews, who wept when he looked at Jerusalem and was looking forward to that Messianic kingdom when we would all be drawn back together. We need more people in the world like that. We need more people in the world who love Torah.
Dr. Mark, I was raised that whenever you said the name Yeshua, you were supposed to call him Yeshu, which we were told is an acronym for his name and memory. May his name and memory be blotted out. And now I would never say that because I look at Yeshua as a brother. He's actually my cousin, and I'm not trying to be funny. I've done my genealogy, found out I think he's like my 33rd cousin or so. I don't remember the exact number. But he's literally my cousin. And he is a person who has had a profound impact on nearly 2 billion people in the world. And so we should at least acknowledge that and understand that. And, we have a perspective on it as Jews that it's, like Maimonides explained, but it has brought people to all over the world to know the God of Israel. People who, if we came to them with the Torah, I don't know if they would have been prepared immediately to accept it. These were people who were, engaging in human sacrifice and, literally like, the Scandinavians, for example, who used to cut people's back open and pull their lungs out from their back. And horrific things. And now these people know about the God of Israel. And so I do believe this is part of the creator of the universe's plan. And I don't understand the entire plan, right? I don't. I'm like Job. Why is this happening? Why are some things happening to me, to other people? There's horrible things that are happening in the world. I don't know how it's part of God's plan, but I do believe it is because he's in control of the universe.